guys, this is Setback once again, 95th video. So, Citro reviews the past rocks. That's one of the viewers' screen names on YouTube. I believe it is Citro reviews the past rocks. He asked me a question the other day, and let me get situated. Basically, he was like, have I ever heard of the Mandela Effect? Now, I know a lot of people have been asking me about that in the past, and I meant to get around to it, but I ended up getting sidetracked, and we be talking about a lot of other stuff. So let me touch on it right here for now, man. So basically, all these names, once again, names are just, science and whoever else is out there, modern age things, they tend to put these titles out like as if it's new. It's like, we're gonna call this the Mandela Effect. We're gonna call this, alternate realities, lucid dreaming. But, none of this shit is new, man. I mean, it's always been here. Just that every few generations, somebody will come up with a name. You might get a so-called specialist or a scientist, and they'll make up some name, and then all of a sudden, everybody is, that's what they're gonna call it. But nothing's really new. But basically, the Mandela Effect, from the understanding of most people, is that there's a lot of people going around, man, talking about things that either the memories that they had of things from their past are completely different from, say, their recollection of it, their memory of it. So it's like some common examples would be like, when we were kids, we had books, things like the Berenstain Bears. Was it, Berenstain Bears or Berenstein Bears? Was it S-T-E-I-N or S-T-A-I-N? And for a lot of people, when we were kids, it was the Berenstain Bears, or Stein, but S-T-E-I-N. Now it's like the Berenstain Bears, S-T-A-I-N, or reverse for other people. Was it Fruit Loops, spelled F-R-U-I-T, or was it Fruit Loops, F-R-O-O-T? So, and this applies to a lot of things across the board, man. Like a lot of wild shit, like music, verses from songs. I remember this verse being that way, and no, they never said this. Or scenes from a movie. I remember this happening, and it didn't happen that way. So you got a lot of things going on, man. A lot of people don't really know how to put it all together, when they're trying to figure things out. Well, what's going on here then? And this is basically, I commented on his question, but this basically touches on the fact that we live in once again, I know I sound like a broken record, I always say the same thing, but we're in a multi-dimensional reality, man. So that meaning that there's so many other realities going on around us all the time. A lot of times we change the past, like I said in the last video on racism, and you are the living crossroads, and all moments of reality pass and intersect. They must intersect through you. So it's like, at any moment point, you're connected to all reality. Now, I know for a lot of individuals, they can't really see that because, they're very locked into this physical reality. But you gotta remember, past videos, I talked about how we pull thoughts from other realities. We get ideas. Other realities pull ideas from ours and from here. So there's a give and take across the board between all realities, all levels of reality. And for some people, it's going to be the Berenstain Bears with S-T-I-N. For others, they're going to say, no, it was the Berenstain Bears, S-T-A-I-N, or, vice versa. So there's always going to be different recollections of what happened because, here it comes, the past, the future, they're both always being alternated and changed through the present moment point. Now, this happens on an individual level, and it also happens on a global level, on a mass level. So if enough people have enough energy and they put enough focus into one reality, a large majority of people are going to say that, no, it was like this is how it's always been. And the minority is going to say, well, I don't remember that being like that, man. I remember it being this way. So the funny part is that they're both right. It's Berenstein, it's Berenstain, it's Fruit Loops and F-R-U-I-T, and it's Fruit Loops F-R-O-O-T. They're all correct because across the board, all levels of reality are happening at once. There is no, I mean, we only put through ourselves with our creaturehood here in physical reality, we set up the boundaries, we set up the barriers, the separation points, but everything's actually happening at once. Now, through certain techniques, you can learn to go beyond the veil and see, you know, what's going on in these other realities. And you pick them up all the time anyway, through your thoughts, through your... A lot of people think imagination is just imagination or random thoughts or stray thoughts, and they're not, man. A lot of times, you're pulling information in from other realities, and, you know, for you, you just think, oh, okay, that's a trivial little thing, it's not really that important. For another individual, they might pick that up and might take it to heart, and it can alter their whole perception of specific events. So, you know, yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting. You can't get, on one level, it's very interesting to research and get into. Another level, you cannot dive too deep into it because, you know, hey, you're here. This is your reality that you're in. So, you know, it's interesting at the same time. I say, well, what if it was Berenstein, Bears, S-T-A-I-N? What does that have to do with me? On the physical level, it doesn't have nothing to do with you. That's just how it is. But on you know, the mystical level of things, it's interesting because it shows you how that there is a multi-dimensional stage at play here, and things that go on, things that are going on all across the board, you know. So there's always gonna be new things popping up all over the place, man. So you can't, sorry, I know the camera's moving around, but you can't, this is how it is, man. You know, like, don't get stuck on it. Don't let it freak you out. Don't dive too heavy into it. Like, I know a lot of individuals out there, they might be like, well, I'm gonna research this deeper. I need to know why, I need to know this. It's very simple, man. There are many realities going on all around us at all times, and they intersect through you, and that's it. Now, if you want to delve deeper into it and drive it in more and go see what else is going on, that's really an individual thing. But you know, you don't have to get too worried about it. It's not going to affect you. It's not going to affect your reality. It's just going to be, you know, it is what it is, man. You know, on my hand, I'm getting a cramp here trying to hold this phone up, man. Okay, so anyway, so today, besides the Mandela Effect, right, I'm going to jump into a whole other area. Ancestral work. Ooh, big one, I know. Now, I know a lot of people out there are really into this ancestral work, you know. I see a lot of things out, people talking, working with your ancestors. You gotta go through the ancestors first. You can't work any magic unless you deal with the ancestors. And then on the other side, you got people saying, don't do ancestral work, fuck ancestral. I've seen people go really wild, they're like, fuck ancestral work, don't ever work with ancestors. Look, man, I said in that video yesterday, right, is that we're all, if you want to really go deep into ancestral work, then you have to try to figure out what's your family of consciousness. And I've talked about this in past videos about families of consciousness. There are a lot of different, there's a infinite number of families of consciousness out there. But you have some of the basic ones, you know. I've spoken about them in the past. You know, Seth has spoken about them in the past. You know, you got the 9 families that he named. What was it? The Gramada, the Sumafi, the Demo, the Vo, the Milamet, the Zuli, the Boladim, the Iluda, the Sumari. And I like to throw in the Set. He said 9, but I'll throw Set in. The Set, you know, Seth, family of consciousness or whatever, which that entity had his connections with. But yeah, man, you had those. So those are just the basic 9 or 10, you know, that he mentioned, but there's always a give and take. There's always different families out there, and there are always new ones being formed and new groups coming out. So you gotta, and you know, each of those families of consciousness deal with different things. Like the Zuli, for example, they deal with That family of consciousness deals with athletics and things dealing with the physical body, and you take like bodybuilders or gymnastics or sports athletes, and that's what they mostly focus on, things like that. You get the Volt, and they mostly deal with a lot of trying to change the status quo, revolutionaries, fighters, trying to break the standard, introduce new ideas through, not violence, but basically just, always clashing, trying to get that new information out, trying to get new things changed to stop things from being mundane and routine. You get the SUMARI, they're always trying to introduce new cultural ideas for the soul, the spirit, art. So, and a lot of us belong to different families of consciousness, right? Some of them mix and match, some of them merge together. But the reason I'm bringing those families of consciousness up and the idea of ancestral work is like, besides your genetic ancestors, if you say, okay, well, I come from this tribe, in Africa, I come from this group, I come from whatever you believe that you come from. Besides that, you have the non-physical families of consciousness, which are also your ancestors, which actually take preference before the physical ones. See, so a lot of guys out here, these cats don't understand. They talk about ancestral work is that it's a lot deeper than just going into, genetics and, hereditary ancestry and things like that. Before we even get to the physical part of things, there's always the non-physical comes first. And I think that's what a lot of us tend to forget. Non-physical realities trump always physical realities. What we get in physical reality is basically the byproduct. Like, everything comes in physical reality after it's thought of and after it's been manifested, and then boom, you get physical results. But before that, the non-physical is always in existence, even now. Just think about it, like 20 years ago, where was the iPhone? The iPhone wasn't even in existence. It was somewhere, but it wasn't here, not in our physical reality. And now you can't, look under, a car. You can't open a page of a book without seeing an iPhone or an Apple ad or something, man. It's like it's all over the place. But the concept was there. The concept was always there. It just wasn't manifest yet. The tools weren't around to manifest them, but the concept was somewhere. Where was it? Well, it wasn't just up in the ether. It was in that other realm of reality. Some call it the dreaming, some call it, the astral plane. They have all these places, but it's basically just non-physical reality. And that's where these ideas and concepts dwell in until someone is powerful enough, or there's enough people willing to put enough energy behind it to make them manifest. So, I keep switching hands because I'm getting a cramp. So when you're dealing with ancestors, right, you got to go deep, you got to meditate, you got to get into that zone, you got to find out what is your true family of consciousness, your true ancestors. Because, all right, God, I didn't want to go here, but I'm going to have to. If you want to get super technical, right, basically, all ancestors are your ancestors. Now, quite naturally, you're going to feel a connection to specific groups. You're going to feel a specific connection to certain tribes or certain families. But in terms of the nature of reality, we're all a part of all that is. So everything, see, this is when you start tapping into your real power, right? Because it's like, if you want to go into real power, and I'm talking about true power, not just, this is power that trumps, this is power that goes beyond ancestral work. This is true ancestral work. When you can come to terms, see, this connects back to the racism video, right? If you could come to terms and drop whatever your belief systems are, limiting belief systems, whatever they may be, if you can drop those and come to terms with the true nature of your existence and existence of the soul, and truly see yourself as a part of and a physical manifestation of all that is, you come to understand that all ancestors that have ever existed on the planet, all ancestors that ever will exist on the planet, and all these ancestors that have never even been physical are all your ancestors, because they're all a part of all that is. You know, all names under God are one, because God has manifested all of them. But it's all our power, man. So if you really want to get deep and start dealing with ancestry work, you need to come to terms with the fact that all ancestors are yours. See, that takes a lot of power, right? It takes a strong-minded individual to come to terms with this, because a lot of people will say, you know, for example, well, I'm black and I don't feel any connection with, you know, Celtic or Nordic ancestry or gods and things like that. And other individuals will say the same, vice versa. Well, I come from a Nordic background and I feel no connection with, you know, African gods, or, you know, my African heritage, and how could this be? You know, I was born in Ireland, you know, whatever. But, you know, one could argue, hey, all civilizations started in Africa, you know, we're all connected through that way. But to go beyond the physical just for a minute, like I said, when you understand the true nature of reality and what the soul is, and what is the soul composed of, and the soul's originating point, and the originating point for everything, you understand that see, it's like this talk of God, man. Like, a lot of people throw that word around. Oh, God, you know, God is watching. God's watching you. God knows. God this, God that. I've talked about this many times, probably in the past. God, aka all that is, aka the creator, aka the grand architect. You see what I'm saying? All these names, you're all talking about the same thing. For some reason, when you say God, people kind of go, oh, God, he's a Bible thumper. You know, because for some reason that word God tends to be broken down to like a lot of the Christianity and things like that, but you know, the Aramaic God or whatever. But pretty much, man, it's like all names are part of all that is. I mean, look at the title, all that is, meaning everything. So I've said this many times, right, that we're all a part of God, you know, we're all God, a portion of God manifested, just experiencing, you know, the creator, God, all that is, whatever you want to call it. It's so powerful that it's manifested itself within every possible reality imaginable, down to the smallest cell and atom, to the largest planet and star in the universe, to the most infinite grand space and non-physical reality, with the realms where demons and goblins roam, and hobbits and dragons and, you know, Sesame Street characters and Thundercats and, you know, superheroes and all these things, man. They're all coming from that one source. We call these things fantasy or sci-fi because we don't see them here manifest in physical reality, but they're all in existence. You see them every day, whether it be in your dreams or, hold on, keep track of time. I got like a few minutes, man, I gotta go. But yeah, I might have to get back on this because it's kind of a short vid, and this is a little bit of a too heavy subject to just get into real quick on this for a few minutes. But I'm gonna leave that with you guys to think about. I'm gonna let y'all meditate on that for a minute. Meditate on the one reality, right? I'm not gonna say a concept because all realities are true. So let's meditate on a different reality. If you believe you feel true force and power from your ancestral work, whether it be from, you know, an African background or a Jewish background or, you know, a Nordic or, you know, whatever you believe it is, whether it be gods or just actual physical people that existed, you know, or deities, whoever. Let's meditate on this, that what if you could access the pantheon of every ancestor that has ever been in existence and ever will be in existence for all of eternity. Now, if you can work with that kind of power, now you're working with something, because to accept that means to accept that your position and your understanding as a part of all that is. simply being manifest and having your own subjective and objective experiences in a physical reality. See, don't limit yourself, man. The whole purpose of all these videos is always geared toward getting you to open up your minds and to see things from a different point of view, to expand, to get more powerful. You know, we all want power. There's nothing wrong with wanting power. My goal, one of them is at least to get you to see you can use more power than what you're using. Don't limit yourself. Why limit yourself? There's so many other things out here. And, you know, I know it sounds so simple to keep getting into it, that the idea, well, it's not even an idea, it's the fact that we're all one and we're all a part of all that is. That is a loaded sentence that goes beyond just saying, oh, well, you know, we're all one and we're all part of God. What does that truly mean? If we're all part of God and we're all one, then shouldn't you be able to access all the ancestors in existence? It's just something for you to think about, man. Who knows? I might make another video on this, probably. But who knows? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But I think I've touched on the most important points. Start digging deep. Find out what your family of consciousness is. Or just accept the fact that you're a part of all of them. And I think that's where the true power lies. Not just saying that I'm a part of this family of consciousness and leaving it at that. I know I've claimed the name SUMARI in the past in the SUMARI family, but that's also loaded. And basically it means that I'm accepting my part of all reality. I gotta go, because I gotta get to class. But that's for some of you guys to meditate on. SUMARI to everybody out there, much love. I'll get back at you later.